Podcasts brought to you by Real Terrio Radio. Around the world today here on Real Terrio Radio.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Around the World Today with me, Terry Davis, here on Real Terrio. So we're going to be talking about this week bad customer service, and my main pet hate are banks who deliver abysmal customer service. Me and Terry Begley were talking about this the other evening on Friday. The bank made me overdrawn, took money out of my account. Basically, they said that they sent me an email explaining that everything was going on. I never received the email. So I asked the bank, don't you think that you should have done more than an email before? Oh no, sir, the bank replied. It's our policy, if the customer doesn't reply to the email or letter or so on, that we take it that the customer knows what we're doing. So I asked a simple question about their policy. And that question was, I've written this on their Facebook page, as I'm a firm believer, if you get bad service, you do actually tell other people. And now we're in the day of social media. Before, a person used to tell 5 other people. Today, you probably tell 5,000 other people with social media. So I put to the bank, if a customer doesn't get your email, how is the customer supposed to know that the bank wants to speak to them? So someone in customer service said to me, said it was the bank's policy that if the customer does not call you back, then we take it as the customer knows about what the bank is doing. But the bank, back to my original question, as I said, if a customer doesn't get the email, how is the customer supposed to know? Now, unless the customer becomes overnight a psychic and is able to read the minds of the computer systems within a bank who are sending out these emails, it's quite unlikely that policy or it's quite likely, I should say, that the policy is totally unworkable when a customer doesn't receive the email. So I asked the bank about the email because I didn't receive it. According to the bank, I have received the email. Their computer system shows that that the email was sent and there's been no problems with sending the email, according to this department. When I asked a simple question, if you had sent the email, why haven't I received it a month later? So I made, my bank takes all feedback as a complaint. That's how it's registered and logged. So I made a feedback complaint and asked how. You can't do that. Do you know what I mean? You should be you didn't send me an email, but you're saying you did send me an email. Well, the bank only checked one computer system rather than all of the computer systems, what I find quite appalling, because you would have thought if a customer's taken the time to bring this problem to you, the best thing to do would be to investigate it, because I'm pretty sure that there'll be other customers experiencing the same kind of problem. Normally if one customer doesn't receive an email, other customers don't receive an email. And 9 times out of 10, we do it here at Real Terrio. We use an external piece of software that talks to all of our social media accounts, and we post from there. So when you see something on our Facebook page or onto our, and it's come from our website, it comes via our, from our website to this piece of software and then to Facebook. And if one piece of software doesn't talk to another piece of software, the whole system goes. But the software that posts to Facebook tells me, well, everything is fine. You know, until you actually interrogate the system will just act like, you know, the system is fine. But if you're not willing to interrogate the system, you're not, because what the bank would have found out is that the customer didn't receive an email. What no one can tell me is, since they're adamant that an email has been sent to me as the customer, and I'm adamant, and I have proof, because as you know, on email I use Google as my personal email. You can type in at the bank's URL, or at, do you know what I mean? And you can find every email that you've ever had from this email address, even if it's in your deleted box. So that's what I did. The last email they sent me was a month before, and it was about a different matter. So, yeah, you know, my worry now is, what about my security? If their system is showing that they've sent an email, and let's just say that all of their systems are talking right, have they sent my personal details to someone who isn't me and isn't authorized to have my account number, my sort code, my, you know, all of my details, basically? Because this letter was coming, and normally when a bank sends you a letter via email, or even a letter via post, it's got your account number and sort code on. So, you know, someone now has access, and if you think about it, it's going to have your address on, because they write a letter like a letter. So it has your address, it'll have my account number, it'll have my sort code, it'll have my name on there. You know, that's 4 pieces of information that would allow someone to steal my identity. Quite major pieces of information too, you know. When someone gets a hold of your bank account, they could change your address. When someone gets a hold of, you know, and they know your address too. They know my email address too, because normally you put, you know, the email address on the thing. So that's 5 pieces of secured data that my bank has either given out to someone or something else. So the bank investigated and said there's no complaint to answer to. But to this day, not one member of staff at the bank can tell me if where my information has gone. Obviously, if the customer didn't receive the email, but your system is saying that the customer received the email, a question that should have been asked is, where is the customer's email? And has it gone somewhere it shouldn't go? Whatever happened to giving the best customer service? Is this the problem with the banks? Because, okay, let's look at the banking sector, shall we? RBS and NatWest are owned by the government. Up until recently, Lloyds was owned by the government too. So the same majority shareholder owned two major banks, actually 4 major banks in the United Kingdom, because they trade as different entities. So you had RBS Group and NatWest, RBS Group with RBS and NatWest, and Ulster Bank, and you have Lloyds, and at the time it was Lloyds TSB, and then they set off TSB, and you also had in there HBOS 2, what's Halifax. So that's two big banking corporations. Then you only have Santander as another bank, and Cooperative Bank. And then you've got the little banks like Principality here in Wales. It's really a building society. What's now owned by the Cooperative Bank, if I remember correctly, or the other way round. But the problem is, because there isn't enough competition on the high street, could it be that banks can get away with giving you the worst customer service ever? The worst customer experience ever? Okay, who's gone to a bank? Okay, because recently branches are closing left, right and centre. Who has actually gone to a branch? And they keep you waiting for hours on hours. on end, or it feels like hours, but actually it turns out to be half hour, over the time that you've booked an appointment. Or when you've called up a bank, and my personal favourite is NatWest. And, like, when you ring up NatWest, they say, please hold the line. We're experiencing extreme call levels right now. It's 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes when I've called the bank to check my balance, because the banks update at 2:30 with RBS Group in the morning. So I've called up at 3 o'clock in the morning, when I've been a little bit tipsy-poos, and called up the bank to check my balance. We are sorry, we are experiencing a higher than normal call volume right now. Please hold the line. When most people in the UK are probably sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that message is then played at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then played at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 11 o'clock in the morning, all the time, you've got to ask yourself, maybe it's time that we start looking at more staff or customer service. And then you just pass complaints off. And you blame the whole complaint process on the customer. So the bank told me it's not their responsibility once they've sent the email if the customer doesn't get it. So whose responsibility is it? The customer's? So what they're really saying is blaming it, instead of blaming it on the bank, who are sending the email, mind, because they want to talk to you, they're blaming the customer. How can you blame the customer for something that the customer never knew the customer isn't psychic. The customer can't sit there and telepathically communicate towards its bank manager and say, Mr. Davis, I wish to speak to you. Do you know what I mean? You really can't. Now, this does seem like a second rant, but I've been told that my rants are really good. And this has been playing on my mind since Friday, because I'm a little overdrawn on my bank account right now. But one wishes to sort this out, because I have complained to my bank previous. And I had to go to the bank's executive department. Well, when they call it an executive department, really it's the CEO's office. And I must say, there's a lovely guy who works in the CEO's office. Really nice guy. Really good customer service. Not many people know that I actually can't read documents on white paper. I can't read white paper whatsoever because I'm dyslexic. So I have to have an overlay. And when I told my bank this, and as the headed note paper was on white paper, and it was before I found out about overlays and stuff, they insisted on sending me, I only asked them to make a little tweak, under the Disability Inequalities Act, and we'll go into more of that on a new podcast that I'm starting with Liella in a couple of weeks, as part of our disability brand. So we'll go more about that then. But according to the Equalities Act, reasonable adjustments must be made. Now, the reasonable adjustment I asked the bank to make was to actually just send my statement on blue paper. The bank took this to mean that we'll send all documentation on Braille. It took 4 years, 4 lousy years, for the bank to actually stop sending me Braille, and for a complaint to be sent to the executive office, because I had had enough. Branch managers were telling me, we'll get it sorted, area managers, and then people in the call centres, and everyone was passing the buck, and so I had enough. And I went to the executive office in about 2014. Spoke to this lovely guy, Stuart. Sorted the problem out. He ordered me a pack of overlays. Something that took 10 minutes. The bank bought me a pack of overlays. At that point, they were just offering me compensation from the bank. You could ring the bank up and tell them you sent me Braille. They'll say, sir, sorry for the inconvenience, we'll send you the letter and here's 50 quid for your inconvenience. At the end of the day, they're technically discriminating against me because, I can't read Braille. just because I can't read white paper doesn't mean that I can't read, does it? So, yeah, bad and sound like Donald Trump now, but yeah, I'd love to hear if you've had like really bad experiences, because I'm going to add this in for another topic on this podcast within the season, in the series. Join me next week for our topic. Oh yes, we're going to be re-looking at students. Are they customers? This part of the series is about customers. I look forward to seeing you next week, and remember to check out our website at www.realterrier.co.uk, and have a good day.